many as are not in favor, say no and just walk out. And we will mark you based on your performances. And if you're not matching with the pace of the reset agenda, you might be asked to step aside. And so, if that adds to the horror movie, that's the as many as are not in favor, say no and just walk out. And we know that you are not prepared to be part of this reset and this reform. I think you all voted aye. So you're part of the reset agenda, and we expect something completely different from you. The reports we would look at next year will be the report for 2024. So really, your performance will show when we do the 2026 review. That will show for 2025. And I'm going to come and sit in that review, and we will mark you based on your performances. And if you're not matching with the pace of the reset agenda, you might be asked to step aside. And so, if that adds to the horror movie, that's the intention. Thank you. Thank you for your presence this morning and the opportunity to address you. This morning's activity is not just a forum for discussion, but a decisive call to action, demanding bold leadership, accountability, and an unwavering commitment to excellence from you as chief executives of state-owned enterprises. This meeting reaffirms my commitment to the promise of a shake-up of all loss-making SOEs and realigning them to break even and transition into profit-making. As you have all noted, my 2024 campaign promises and the 120-day social contract with the good people of Ghana were not mere rhetoric. The 2023 State Ownership Report produced by the State Interest and Governance Authority, SIGA, reveals the inefficiencies affecting many of our SOEs. And this demands that we act with conviction and courage to tackle the systemic challenges confronting these enterprises. Many of our specified entities have operated inefficiently for far too long. They've been burdened by waste, underperformance, conflict of interest, and a complete detachment from national interest. Many of our SOEs have been used as mere instruments for generating personal wealth for persons appointed to positions within the entity. And who are the ones responsible for this situation? It's the chief executives, the management, and the management boards of these enterprises. Some of these enterprises have become perennial loss makers, draining public funds with bloated budgets, unjustified allowances and perks, and unnecessary expenditures, while relying on government bailouts as if they were entitled to them. Indeed, many of your entities are at their lowest point in the entire history of the Fourth Republic. Ladies and gentlemen, the era of impunity, mediocrity, and financial recklessness must end today. I'm happy you clapped. It's not going to be business as usual. We're going to reset your entities. The Ghanaian people have entrusted me with the responsibility of resetting our nation and our economy, and I don't intend to betray that trust. My administration's first 120 days has set the foundation for a new era of governance, anchored on efficiency, integrity, and tangible results. In fulfillment of this social contract, we have implemented a lean government as promised, confirmed a complete list of cabinet ministers within the 14 days promised, and will soon publish a strict code of conduct for all public officials. As I said yesterday, you are among the category of public officers obliged to declare your assets upon assuming office, and also upon leaving office. A lot of the your predecessors have failed to declare their assets, including ministers and CEOs who have left. And so the Auditor General must follow them and get them to comply. The Director General of SIGA will ensure that you all comply with your assets declarations. The Auditor General will submit a list of those who have complied by an agreed cutoff date, and those who fail to comply would be sanctioned, including possible removal from office. My vision for reform is clear, anchored on performance, accountability, and national interest. Under my leadership, specified entities will be transformed into engines of growth, aligning with our goal of a 24-hour economy that expands job opportunities and drives industrialization. At the center of this transformation is SIGA, which will evolve from a passive observer into an empowered enforcer of national interest. SIGA will act as a command center and be equipped with executive authority to 1, negotiate and enforce performance contracts with heads of entities. 2, conduct regular in-depth assessments of SOE finances, ensuring transparency and exposing mismanagement. 3, issue binding directives, implement compliance mechanisms, and intervene directly in underperforming entities. 4, commission independent audits to identify inefficiencies and financial leakages. And 5, set and monitor performance metrics with tangible consequences for non-performance. Loss-making SOEs will no longer be tolerated. They will be swiftly reformed, they will be merged, privatized, or shut down. Corruption, procurement fraud, and financial mismanagement will be prosecuted strictly, and boards that rubber stamp poor decisions will be replaced. The practice also of, in a few cases, using entity resources and funds to indemnify board members from accountability must cease immediately. SOEs must deliver strategic value, particularly in energy, transport, manufacturing, agriculture, and finance, to support Ghana's industrialization and the 24-hour economy initiative. Entities like the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, the Ghana Grid Company, Ghana Water Company, Ghana Cocoa Board, Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Metro Mass Transit, Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority, Agricultural Development Bank, National Investment Bank, and telecom SOEs must play pivotal roles in ensuring that the people of Ghana have stable electricity, water supply, production efficiency, transportation, digital banking, and a cashless economy that operates 24/7. Additionally, our SOEs must be at the forefront of Ghana's economic transformation. They must play a vital role in implementing our administration's key initiatives, and these include the 24-hour economy policy to stimulate job creation, enhance industrial productivity, and optimize national output. The Accelerated Export Development Council, which has commenced work to promote exports as part of our broader strategy for economic transformation. The Women's Development Bank, which has received its initial seed funding and will soon be operationalized. The Jumaura National Apprenticeship and 1 Million Coders Program, all of which have been funded in our first budget to expand employment opportunities for young people. Ladies and gentlemen, we appointed you because we have confidence in you. And we expect that each of you will lead with professionalism and urgency to fulfill your mandates as follows. 1, to operate your entities as competitive businesses, not political offices, by innovating new revenue streams and eliminating dependence on government bailouts. To conduct operational audits to cut waste, streamline procedures, and enhance service quality. And to achieve this, you have to think outside the box. Don't say that is how it's always been done. To tie compensation to measurable performance metrics, including financial results, operational efficiency, and transparency through public financial reporting. Your entity cannot be making losses and you are demanding salary increases and bonuses. Is not acceptable. To comply with statutory requirements by submitting audited financial statements to SIGA no later than April 30th of every year. This, as the finance minister told you, is non-negotiable and indeed is part of the PFMA, and we're going to exact compliance. Embrace research and development to boost productivity and reduce reliance on public funding. And then collaborate with SIGA to drive transparency, accountability, and innovation. I've directed SIGA to compile and submit a report to the Senior Presidential Advisor on Governmental Affairs by mid-May each year, detailing all entities that fail to meet the deadline for submission of audited financial statements. We will enable swift action against non-compliance. Failure to deliver results in any area will not be excused. And as I said earlier, if you're not prepared to be part of the reset, now is the time to just walk out. The Ghanaian people deserve better and will not accept mediocrity. A World Bank assessment report, and I thank our World Bank rep for the statement he made. A World Bank assessment report revealed that governance gaps, fragmented oversight, and outdated regulations are the root cause of our poor SOE performance. To tackle these challenges head-on, the Public Financial Management for Sustainable Development Program will be supported with support from the World Bank, is undertaking a study under the auspices of SIGA, as he told you. These in-depth analyses are expected to produce comprehensive reports with actionable recommendations for cabinet approval and implementation. The selection of entities for evaluation is meticulous. It targets 120 specified entities, including 50 state-owned enterprises, 16 joint venture companies, and 54 other state entities. The evaluation process will commence with the first batch of 16 selected entities. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a future where our state-owned enterprises are beacons of efficiency, innovation, and excellence, driving growth and prosperity for our nation. That future is within our reach. But to exploit this potential, we must embark on a transformative journey. We must streamline governance structures. We must eliminate redundancies and infuse our decision-making processes with discipline and agility of the private sector. By embracing public-private partnerships, we can access specialized expertise and boost operational efficiency without sacrificing our core values. This bold new approach requires a national rebirth marked by courageous decision-making, calculated risk-taking, and an unwavering dedication to excellence. Together, let's revolutionize and reset our SOEs and unleash a brighter future for generations yet unborn. And my final word, our nation Ghana stands at a turning point. We cannot afford the complacency and incompetence of the past. We have confidence in all of you who have been appointed to these agencies. We've made significant progress in less than 120 days, but this is only the beginning. Our commitment to reform will not waver. Under the guidance of God Almighty and our own resources and expertise, and working hand in hand with the people of Ghana, we will build the Ghana we all want. And I'm committed to leading this transformation, and I call each of you to join me in doing this. Together we shall reset our economy and build a prosperous future for our country. I thank you, and may God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to begin by expressing my gratitude to the DG for inviting me to make a statement at this very important event. As one of your partners, we really appreciate the opportunity that the government has offered us to be a part of this discussion on how to improve the performance of SOEs. And we had a really excellent meeting with the DG and his team, the colleagues who presented a couple of weeks ago. And I think the presentation is really indicative of the excellent work that they're all doing on this in SIGA. Let me also thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to participate in the recent National Economic Dialogue. It was an honor for the World Bank to hear firsthand about how the administration plans to reset Ghana. Today's event is a further testimony of your resolve to accelerate the reset agenda as outlined in the dialogue, and also Minister Forson's budget speech earlier this week. And I assure you of the World Bank's partnership and support in this journey. I think President Mahama and his cabinet have really set a tone of candor the past couple of months. And there's a term going around in management circles now called radical candor, about the value of that when we speak very candidly with each other. So I would like to continue that in that style. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, state ownership remains critical in Ghana and other developing economies, given the role SOEs play as providers of public goods. Many SOEs have social mandates, which require them to remain in business, even when they are subsidized by government. Indeed, evidence from the World Bank suggests that state ownership is more prevalent than previously thought. The bank did a really good report called The Business of the State a couple of years ago, which identified 76,000 enterprises with state ownership of more than 10% in 91 countries. I'd recommend that one for you to give also a sense of the global experience. Given the multiple ways in which government can assert its ownership rights, even in enterprises in which it only controls a minority share, the concept of the business of the state goes beyond the traditional SOEs to include firms with minority, indirect, or majority ownership, as we heard from the colleagues this morning. In this sense, the performance of the entirety of the 177 public enterprises should concern government and make it critically important that they are reformed and managed better. Your Excellency, given the critical role they play, it is paramount for SOEs to be fit for purpose. There is a need to constantly look at state ownership and interrogate the quality of the state's participation across different dimensions. The first dimension is the social mandate. Does the state need to perform this role, or could the private sector do it better or more efficiently? If yes, if the state needs to perform the role, is it in favor of the state? Are new measures needed to rejuvenate the operations of SOEs generally and also in particular cases? Is the SOE commercially viable or not? If yes, what is the compelling reason for the state's continued involvement? And does the environment provide sufficient competitive neutrality to permit the participation of other private sector players? Does the state play a regulatory role or direct service provider role? If yes, what is the nature of the regulations and also vis-a-vis the extent of the state's presence in the sector? And if no, the state should take measures to leave commercial activities to the private sector and dedicate resources and expertise to manage non-commercial SOEs better. Let me take COCOBOD, for example, in this regard. COCOBOD currently plays multiple roles to support farmers' income and productivity and support Ghana's position in the cocoa market. So it's a regulatory role, but it's also a commercial role. On the commercial role, there's a procurement monopsony, and there's a sales monopoly on cocoa beans, as well as the physical distribution of inputs to farmers, which have created significant distortions over time and driven a significant wedge between the market price and the price farmers receive. The results are clear, a vicious cycle that undermines Ghana's position in the cocoa market. Cocoa production has dropped nearly 50% over the past 3 years. Many countries in Latin America and Africa are ramping up production to fill global demand. I used to work in Latin America before I came here for this job, and I can tell you firsthand, countries are seeing this and looking to take advantage of it. So there's really no time to waste. Existing forward sales contracts locked in lower prices than current market rates. The potential impact for this season could be as high as 1.3 billion US dollars of foregone revenues for COCOBOT and the farmers due to these rolled over contracts. Large gaps between market prices and farmer payments, with potential losses of about $4,000 per ton for farmers, encourage smuggling and shift towards galamsey, as we all know. It's therefore critical for a comprehensive and holistic look at the cocoa sector, including unbundling and rationalizing the responsibilities of COCOBOT to allow private sector participation in procurement and sales of cocoa beans and inputs to farmers, and reforming COCOBOT's governance structure to strengthen its regulatory and enabling environment functions. Your Excellency, the second dimension is financial and operational sustainability of SOEs. As we all know, we've heard now this morning, SOEs have been a burden on public resources in Ghana. I'm asking my team to look where we're working in many of the sectors with you to try to support you in the particular sectors. We're already working quite a lot on COCOBOT and ECG, but also water. Ghana Water, I think, is another one, which clearly needs some support. As the 2023 State Ownership Report demonstrates, a significant number of SOEs in Ghana would fit the definition of entities facing financial distress. The report highlights the underperformance of SOEs which continue to operate at a negative net profit margin with significant liabilities. I'll just take one more example, another famous one, which is ECG, which together with Volta River Authority and the Northern Electricity Company account for approximately 63% of these liabilities that have been identified. ECG total debt of Ghana cedi 68 billion, unpaid legacy arrears at the end of 2022 were 1.3 billion USD. Annual cumulative sector shortfalls in 2024 stood at 2.2 billion USD, despite government transfers of 2.1 billion in 2023 and 24. So projected cumulative financial shortfall for the energy sector is over 9 billion USD by 2026 without intervention. These are our World Bank modeling projections. In terms of COCOBOT, the total debt estimated at Ghana cedi's 32.5 billion, of which 9.7 billion is due to be paid at the end of September this year. The performance of SOEs thus needs to be enhanced now more than ever. So again, I'm really excited the government is doing this, and we're very happy to help every step along the way. Improved distribution of operations and strengthening billing and collections through enhanced internal customer and meter management systems and deploying smart prepaid meters in the energy sector is also critical, and we're working with the government on supporting that as well through a sectoral project. In this respect, Excellency, I'm pleased that under your leadership, the government has made it clear that it intends to undertake difficult reforms, such as those in ECG and COCOBOT. A comprehensive reform is really what's needed in ECG in terms of reducing aggregate technical, commercial, and collection losses. Your Excellency, the bank has been deeply invested in improving governance and financial and operational performance in SOEs around the world, and we're very happy to bring this experience as well here. Among Latin American countries, for example, Chile has been a trendsetter in corporate and public sector governance, particularly in terms of promoting the role and independence of boards of directors. Uruguay has focused on improving SOE performance through use of performance contracts, as has South Africa. So in the case of Uruguay, management agreements are set, clear objectives and performance targets are then monitored by the Ministry of Finance to ensure that those are met. Closer to home, in Gambia, the National Water and Electricity Company has since 2017 pursued reforms and achieved good results. For example, reducing transmission losses from 28% in 2015 to 20% in 2020, reducing blackouts and improving bill collections. In Senegal, with World Bank support, the energy utility company, Senelec, recent recovery rate improved from 79% in 2013 to 82.7% in 2022, And bill collection rates have improved from 79% in 2013 to 98.8% in 2022. Can ECG be as good as Senelec? Of course it can. Of course it can. All it will take is strong leadership and good governance, and I believe that's what we have now. Excellency, SOE sector reforms require strong measures, such as improving the SOE's corporate governance, namely strengthening autonomy and accountability and professionalizing the composition and operations of the boards of directors. In Ghana, additional measures could include strengthening internal financial management, controls, and audit, and adopting performance incentives for managers and other personnel. Under the USD $150 million Public Financial Management for Service Delivery Program, the World Bank will provide $15 million to the government if SIGA achieves agreed targets towards improving the performance of SOEs. The successful preparation and publication of the 2023 State Ownership Report is the first important milestone under the program, and I'm confident that there will be more to follow, including the finalization of the proposed performance evaluation of the 16 SOEs that SIGA has identified. The World Bank is also supporting reforms through the $300 million budget support instrument with policy actions, including those targeting reforms of ECG. Your Excellency, to conclude, I would like to thank the Government of Ghana once again and SIGA for recognizing the bank as a partner. We look forward to working closely with you going forward and to realizing the promise of SOEs as a generator of revenues for the people of Ghana. Thank you very much.